Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Wednesdays is my good friend, Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew? I see that you are still a Garuba goober after all this time.
Still a Garuba gooba. Didn't get to see much of Garuba last night, unfortunately.
He must have been miffed and peeved.
I mean, he could have helped them. They were getting out rebounded like crazy by Phoenix.
That is true. That is true.
I was maybe the only person sitting at home thinking they really should try out Garuba here.
It was funny seeing Saric just play as big of a role as he did. I mean, obviously Draymond's out, so he probably won't be playing 20 minutes a night.
Yeah.
But just, because he was just kind of like a throw-in. They obviously didn't plan on keeping him when they made that trade, the Baisley trade.
Yep.
And now he's on the Warriors under the big spotlights. Good for him.
It's a big spotlight. They didn't look awesome last night. The Suns looked pretty good. I thought honestly, like the Lakers looked great, and the Nuggets looked unstoppable. is kind of like what I thought. I didn't think Phoenix or Booker was amazing. I didn't think the Warriors looked very good. Clay looked old. They looked like they couldn't grab a rebound to save their life. Nurkic actually looked pretty good for Phoenix, which is not a great sign for the Warriors. And then, I thought the Lakers were good. I thought the Lakers were actually straight up good. But then, the Nuggets were just no, we're going to shut all of this down.
Yeah, I mean, the D'Lo piece is still one of those things where it's is he really going to be the starting point guard for a LeBron team? Is this really? Are we going to stick with this? Because he probably fits better than Westbrook did with LA, just because he can shoot.
Yeah,
but man, when you think about LeBron, he is one of the smartest basketball players we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And you even saw it last night. They had some of those mic'd up sessions with him. And on the flip side, D'Lo, I would say, is not one of the smartest. I don't know where he would rank, but his decision making in comparison to LeBron, there's a large gap there. I just wonder, because people have talked about in the past, LeBron as a GM isn't the greatest GM in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You have to imagine he was a part of the conversation to decide to get D'Lo. I kind of wondered, did they have a shot at Mike Conley? Could that have been Mike Conley?
So much better. That would have been so much better. Yeah, I talked to a scout last year when I sat next to a scout during a game who said D'Angelo Russell is the dumbest player in the NBA. So
really? I mean, he needs to be the way he plays. He needs to be in the Jordan Poole role with the Wizards this year. I feel that's the best version of D'Lo.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he obviously he has talent.
He's
I guess he's on the downside of his career. I mean, he still feels really young, even though he's probably not at this point. But that's just the one piece, because you see everything that Austin Reeves did this summer, and there were multiple points during that game where it was just man, it just doesn't feel like Austin Reeves is getting involved enough.
Yeah,
he needs to be, and a lot of that was because of D'Lo. So I'm interested to see what they do with it. They obviously signed him to that contract. I don't know how movable it is as a positive asset, but it is at least a number.
Yeah, you can move it for sure. But as a positive asset where you're getting something better back or something comparable talent-wise, I mean, that's probably not going to happen.
I can't remember. Is that D'Lo deal? Does that have a team option on the second year, or is that just straight 2 years?
I don't know.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up real quick. It is a player option. Okay.
It's got a good agent.
Yeah,
it's got a good agent. I'm looking at the injury report tonight for Chicago and the Oklahoma City Thunder. We have Jay Will out, right hamstring strain. We have Kenrich Williams out, lower back spasms, like the old man he is. And that's it, which means, will we see for the first time ever the Thin Towers in Poku Chet tonight?
Poku's healthy?
He's not on the injury report.
Did they forget him?
like they just like forgot to put him on the team?
Well,
No, he's been practicing
he has okay.
from what I've heard, and he is apparently ready to go. I don't know if he plays tonight just because he hadn't had like the same ramp up period, but I would not be shocked to see a Poku appearance tonight.
Wow. Well, this is huge news for Poku because we were talking last week about how big of an opportunity this could be with Kenrich and J. Will out for him, and he has healed up, and maybe he will seize the day. Wouldn't that be nice?
It's Poku time. Yeah, Lonzo Ball's the only player listed for Chicago. So, yeah. Luka is questionable tonight with a calf strain against San Antonio.
Jeez.
That's not ideal. But yeah. Okay. Let's try to make some predictions for tonight against Chicago. So we know who the starting lineup is going to be. Who are going to be like the 5 to 6 players that we think are going to play off the bench tonight? It's actually not super difficult because we've got J. Will and Kenrich out, who would definitely be 2 that would play, I would think. Yeah. But who do you think are going to be the guys off the bench that see a lot of burn?
It'll definitely be Isaiah Joe. I think Micic.
Yep.
Is going to play. I think Oos is going to play.
Okay.
And I think Cason Wallace is going to play. That's 4. Okay. I'm at 9.
That's 4 guards.
No, Oos. He's tall.
Oos. Yeah, sorry.
Oos. And then for my 5th player, man, yeah, Mark's going to play like 15. Who cares? There's no point. But, I mean, I want to look at how many players he played in last year's opening game. What would you guess it was?
That's a good question. I would say 12.
12. Okay. So it was a opening night loss to
Minnesota.
Minnesota, very good, Andrew.
Started Poku and Kenrich.
That's right. He played 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He actually only played 13, and Isaiah Joe was only 11 seconds. So he really played 12 guys, and 3 of those were under 10 minutes. So it was, I mean, for Mark, that's a pretty tight rotation there. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I am a little more interested in the rotation because I haven't said Wiggins, I haven't said Bertans, I haven't said Poku, obviously.
No Poku.
Olivier Sarr, probably. I mean, you don't have to play him. This isn't the type of team that's like so big that you think, oh, Sarr's definitely going to get some minutes.
Josh Smith in the chat says Sarr, Poku, Chet, Jang, and Dub in a lineup. Are you excited to see that?
Oh, in a single lineup.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me look at that a little bit more. Whew, so Poku's the 3.
Poku's the 3.
Yeah. Jang is the 2.
Jet 4. Jang the 2. Dub the 1. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be surprised by anything. I mean, the only thing that would surprise me is if like someone like Isaiah Joe just didn't play at all, or like if Micic didn't play at all, just because he got run in the preseason, seemed like he was playing kind of an important role for those bench units.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him go to DNP, that would kind of surprise me. But it's Mark, and he now has 18 players to play with. I guess it's more 16 with the 2 injuries, but he's going to play all of them at some point.
Yes,
we're going to see Trey Mann at some point.
I mean, maybe.
I am glad that we are playing Chicago first because I was thinking about my reverse league pass rankings last night while I was awake at 2:30 a.m. for some reason, and I think Chicago would be number 1. Like, I will watch Bulls games this year. When we have the Bulls on Slam and Jam, or when they play the Thunder, or maybe when they play the Blazers, but I won't be seeking them out. I'm not expecting to seek them out.
You're just glad to get them out of the way, is what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying I'm going to be excited about opening night regardless. So yeah, put a team that I'm not really thrilled for on opening night, and it's perfect. Get a Bulls game out of the way, but I'm still excited. Works out nicely.
Yeah. Who's the player you're most excited to watch that's on the Bulls?
Honestly, it might be Kobe White. just because I did pick
Yeah.
him as a whatever I don't remember the name of it on Slam and Jam because he did have a nice second half of the season, and now it
Yeah.
looks like he's their starting point guard.
They are
I like
starting
him.
him. Yeah.
I think he's fun. Patrick, I know people like Patrick Williams. I don't find him particularly thrilling to watch.
He's not.
Um,
He's no.
but I mean Zach Levine can get really hot. But
Zach
yeah,
LaVine
I'm
and DeRozan are fun. Yeah.
but I'm not seeking those guys out. If I'm being
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
if there's any other team on, I will probably watch that game on a, like an average league pass night.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. Their big problem is they just don't have any like exciting young players.
I mean, it's
Like,
Patrick Williams, but he's not exciting. I mean, he's exciting in the sense that like, oh, you could talk yourself into him as like a
sure.
trade target for the
Yeah.
Thunder. Like,
Yeah.
I get it, but you watch him and it's not like he's not blowing you away.
Yeah. It's a roster that is built for today, that is in the middle and is going to be in the middle until they decide to blow it up, basically.
Yeah. No, I do think we mentioned how good the offense has looked in the preseason, and then they play that weird Pistons starting lineup that was pretty good defensively against
Yeah.
them in
Mm-hmm.
that first quarter. The Bulls were a very good defensive team last year under Billy D.
They were.
So, I mean, the difference is you have Kobe White starting now, who is an amazing defender. So,
Yeah.
but it could end up being a nice test for this Thunder offense that has looked at moments unstoppable just because they have so many options.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about a tough defensive matchup for the Bulls. You're asking Kobe White, like, he probably gets put on Giddey. I mean, who else are you going to put him on?
Yeah, that's probably correct.
It's
And
him or Dort.
yeah, it may be Dort just because Giddy's so big. But yeah. Yeah, it's not ideal. It's funny, like they were the fifth best defense, but like how many they like Alex Caruso, good defender, Javon Carter, good defender, Patrick Williams, good defender,
That's that Billy D magic.
Torrey Craig. I mean, because it's certainly not the other guys. It's just a bizarre team. But the thing about it is, whenever your best players are Zach LaVine, Vooch, and DeRozan, those guys have played so many games.
Yeah, they
Those guys
definitely have a
so
floor. They're like the ultimate floor team.
yeah, like they're gonna be good. Like if the Thunder lost tonight to Chicago, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. Like this is not a bad team. This is a mediocre team that can get hot and they can beat teams. So I would not be surprised if Chicago beat them tonight. They're at home. They probably feel like they've got something to prove. I don't know. Like it wouldn't shock me if OKC lost tonight. I think that OKC's a better team than they are, but I also would not be shocked if OKC lost in like a close one tonight with DeRozan or somebody, coming down the stretch making shots.
Yeah. I think they should win though. I think they're going to be a better team than Chicago this season,
Yeah,
and they should expect to win. A game
I
like
agree.
this.
I agree. I think they should expect to win as well. They had some really good health. A lot of people talk about other teams with good health, but Chicago, like Levine, Vooch, DeRozan, Patrick Williams, Levine, Kobe White, like all those guys played 74 or more games. Dosunmu played a big role for them last year. They all played 74 to 82 games. Vooch and Patrick Williams played all 82 last year.
Yeah, and Caruso was their guy who like missed a lot of time in quotes, but he still played 67 games.
67 games, yeah.
He was eligible, and he would be eligible this season for the MVP award.
Yeah, I mean, he could win it.
He could.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting to me what they'll look like. I agree that the Thunder are going to be better than Chicago this year, but on any given night, you don't know what's going to happen. And when you have two scorers like Levine and DeRozan, who could just get hot, you just I don't know. You don't know.
And
You
and
hope
and
that win.
it's also a
Certainly,
Billy revenge game.
it is. He's going to look at the other bench. He's going to see like if I had just decided to hold on for just a couple of years. I'm not sure that was really on the table. But if
Do
I
you think
just
they would have kept him?
I don't think so.
Because I know they liked him.
I think that they had I think they had Mark circled for a while as
Yeah.
somebody that they would want. It was really interesting. And I think I said this on Monday. No, I think I said this yesterday on a Dream Team show. But Josh Eustace, who's on the Basketball Bud show on the Athletic NBA show, said that he and Mark Degnault came into the league together, and that he said that Mark is the best coach that he's ever had. Whenever he was an assistant for Billy,
Oh,
he said
wow.
like he's never had a better coach in like his entire playing career, which I thought was
Yeah.
really interesting. Because also like you look at like Mo Cheeks was on that staff and Monty Williams was on that staff with Billy. I mean, they have
Yeah.
a stacked coaching tree there. That Adrian Griffin was on there too. I mean, tons of
Wow.
guys. Marco
Yeah.
Rakovic, all those guys were
Oh,
on.
man.
All those guys were on that bench at some point, like within like that few years that that Josh was with the team,
Yeah.
and he still says that he was the best coach that he's ever had. So
Well, if you're wondering, the post OKC Billy Thunder matchup is currently tied at 3-3. I look back. So tonight is the rubber match.
okay,
Best of 7 series.
this is it.
Will Billy succeed, escaping the sinking ship? I know that wasn't his quote, but I'm going to attribute it to him.
Yeah, I'll have to have Brett Dawson ask Mark if he's ready for Game 7 tonight.
Of the Billy Bowl.
This is the Billy Bowl. Come on. But yeah, I thought that was really an interesting comment from Josh about Mark, and you wonder if just the Thunder were ready to move on to Mark anyways.
Yeah.
After things just didn't go as you would have hoped for Billy in his first few years in the league. But Billy wanted to go to a team that's going to be better, and the Thunder are now at the point where they're passing Chicago. Chicago is just like staying steady, and the Thunder are going to pass them, and rather quickly, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it's an interesting match. It's not an interesting matchup, actually. I'm not interested that much in the matchup, but I'm interested to see what the Thunder do and like what the rotations look like, how they mix and match guys. Shea will play the whole first quarter. I mean, that's just kind of how it's been with the Thunder. And then I'm really curious to see when the second quarter rolls around, who is taking the offense? Is it going to be Vava? Is it going to be J-Dub? Is it going to be Giddy? And not necessarily, I mean, those three could be on the court together. And, it doesn't really matter who like has the reins of the offense. But I'm just curious to see what does the offense look like without Shea out there. And then also, what does it look like with Shea out there? Because we haven't really seen it yet. We've seen him
I
play
know
with those guys, but we haven't really seen what it's supposed to look like yet.
That's what I thought was so interesting about the preseason. And you even see it in those quotes, which got attributed to you. Why was that attributed to you? The quote
It shouldn't
about
have been
like Mike.
attributed to me.
It said Michael
The Michael
Jordan.
Jordan thing.
He's talking, yeah, talking about playing off ball.
It got attributed to me because I put the video. I just cut the video. Like I waited a couple days. Okay. I waited a couple days because it went in a story on the Seller Crowd today for Brett Dawson's piece. Brett Dawson was the one who asked it. I waited like a couple days and then cut the video and then just put it on Twitter yesterday.
Okay.
Just because I hadn't seen anybody cut the video yet, and so I was like, oh well, this is a great quote, and I cut it and put it on Twitter, and then NBA Central and like Bleacher Report and everybody just like pick it up. And I was like, I just cut the video. Like I've been too busy to make it a practice. So,
but I was going to
anyways,
say that quote was kind of like symbolic of the preseason vibe around Shea right now. Just as being very
For sure.
willing to play off ball. Even before he said that quote, like you could see it in preseason. He's just not taking as many shots. He's taking more catch and shoot threes. So you're just kind of wondering, like, is that really how he's going to play? Or night one, are we going to see the Shea we saw from last year, where when he's on the court, he is kind of directing things. He obviously still
Yeah.
moves around, but what we saw in preseason felt different than what we saw last season with many of the
Yeah.
same players other than Chet.
Yeah. I mean, in preseason, there were 12 guys that took more shots than Shea the entire preseason. And in fact, Jeremiah Robinson Earl was one shot away from taking the exact same amount of shots as
Whoa!
Shea in the preseason. Shout out Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Hope you get a job here soon. But yeah, I mean, we have not seen what this Thunder team looks like. I mean, Bertans, Kaysen, Wiggs, Lindy, Vava, Joe, Treyman, Dort, Jang, Chet, Giddy, J-Dub all took more shots than Shea. So we haven't seen what this looks like. We just haven't.
And as someone who
So,
drafted Shea in my fantasy basketball league, of which you are also a member, I
yep.
kind of want last year's Shea
Yeah, you need last year's Shea
or
to
something
be
closer to that.
the true number one guy.
I mean, he could theoretically be more efficient playing a little
Yeah.
bit more off ball. That's not out of the question. But if he's playing off ball more, you do wonder if that affects like his free throw attempts because he's just not driving as much. I mean, the way he was driving these last couple seasons, it wasn't just like he was doing it a lot. He was leading the league year after year after year.
Yeah.
Is
Like
that going to be
historic
the
drive.
case again?
Yeah.
It might
Yeah.
not be. And so we might see the free throw attempts come down possibly, but maybe that's counterbalanced with him taking a couple more threes, which would definitely help.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he averaged 31 a game last year.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be over under 30?
I almost feel like he has to be under 30. I would kind of be surprised if he was over 30. Like, where are the concessions coming from on the rest of the roster? Because if we go through the roster and we're even being conservative with some of the other guys, it feels like it just you can't get to 30 for Shea.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you look at the field goal attempts per game last season. It was Shea at 20 field goal attempts, Giddy at 14.7, Dort at 11.8, J Dub 10.6. Then everybody else is 7 or below.
Go to. I'll do it. I don't need to give you tasks to do, but I was going to
Post
look
All-Star
at
break.
I was going to look at J Dub post All Star break.
Yeah. Post All-Star break, Dub took, let's see, 12.9 and Giddy was 15.4.
Okay. I mean, the nice thing about specifically J Dub and Chet is they can be hyper efficient on 10 to 12 shots. So it's not like you're having a guy come in like Paulo, like a very good player, but he takes a lot more shots than either of those guys are going to take.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Shea could maintain that would be if Shea maintains that and he's as good as he was last year, and then you have these hyper efficient guys. I mean, that'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah. And Shea was up to 21.1 after the All-Star break,
Wow.
too. So I don't know. I am so curious to see what the shot distribution looks like through got to give us like 12 games. We won't know much after tonight because it's so matchup dependent. But if you give the team like 12 to 20 games to figure out it, I'm curious what it looks like. What about Lou Dort? He took 12 after the All-Star break, 12 per game, over under 9.5 for Dort this season.
Over under 9.5. I mean, I would say both my heart and my head wants to say under.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want him taking more than that, and I
Yeah.
don't really think he should take more than that. I think that would
Yeah.
be fine if he's
Mm-hmm.
taking like 8 shots a night.
Yeah, and like 12.5 is like 12 point, what was it at after the All-Star break? 12.3 is still like I think one year he took 17 shots a game.
Yeah, he's slowly been reined in.
Yeah. They're reining him in some. And I think with the addition of Chet and the improvement of J-Dub and Giddey, it just makes sense for it to fade. And also for a majority of his shots to come from the corners. And then I think he can be a more efficient player and just a more helpful player overall.
Well, did you watch the Thinking Basketball video, the 8
I
minute?
haven't had a chance to watch it yet. It's like on my list of things I need to do.
If you haven't watched it yet, go to YouTube, Thinking Basketball. They did a short 8 minute video about how the Thunder are changing the pick and roll offensively. And the focus of that is just how many small pick and rolls they will do. Of course, small in this case could be someone like Giddey, who's 6'9" or whatever. But having guard pick and rolls. And they focus in on the movement of Isaiah Joe and how him being in the paint and then shooting out to he's not involved in the pick and roll, but him shooting out to the 3-point line kind of drags the big out, or whoever is guarding him in the paint. But in a lot of those clips, you see Dort in the corner. He's in the corner of like almost all of these pick and roll clips. And I don't even know if there were a ton of shots for him in the clips that they picked. But man, you could definitely see him getting some wide open threes when they have their main guys on the court because of those pick and rolls. You just park him in the corner. Like, I know that's not ideal in the sense that we think of this offense as being like everyone's moving and doing things. But man, Dort should get some wide open threes in the corner this season, because you just have to pay attention to everyone else, not just because they're super talented, but because these guard pick and rolls are just really difficult to defend.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you have Chet in the mix, which makes it so much more difficult. And Chet can be the ball handler in a pick and roll. We saw that in the preseason, where he can be screened for, and then like, what do you do? Because he can make cross court passes on target to people. That to me is probably the most underrated thing about Chet, because I think people just think about him as like pick and pop, pick and roll, whatever. But his handle looks better, and he's a good passer. And so there will be Chet pick and rolls that is Shea screening. And then if you are the defender on that, what do you do? Like, what decision do you make? Like, are we just going to like stick with Chet? We've got to pay attention to SGA. Like, we need help here. And then like the corners and like the, weak side are going to be completely open, I think.
Yeah, because most nights,
Chet's the handler.
Like if a team switches that, then Chet's going to have at least a foot advantage over whoever Shea's defender was. So he's probably just going to take the three. Otherwise, you're like asking some big to fight through a screen. And like I think you'll see that a lot in
a shot to Shea, who pops out, who can then just immediately turn the gas on and get to the hoop and just jet past whoever it is. So I mean, it's going to be so interesting, and I'm really thankful that it is Mark who is going to start orchestrating this stuff, because I do think he's really creative and likes to think out of the box. And this is like the ultimate team to just kind of play around with when it comes to how can we use these guys, because they're all so unusual. How do we use them, and in what ways can we use them that just allows the team to just be so strange? And this is like all the reason why you want to play Chet at the 5 and not as a 4 with a traditional 5 next to him, because you want that lane to be wide open when Chet's the one setting the screen. You don't want a Clint Capella type just sitting there clogging up the lane. If the actual big has to be pulled from the hoop, and that's the guy who has to defend, that makes the defense's life so difficult. And that's where things can get really unlocked. And then obviously in transition to, like, you just rather have a smaller lineup that runs fast, and they want to play fast, and they want Chet to handle, and they want things to just be strange. And I think they're going to be. I think that this team and this lineup is fit to give teams matchup nightmares. And like, this is only our first year. This is literally, tonight is the first game that we actually get to see it. We've seen it some of the preseason. We've seen in flashes what they could be like. we haven't seen what they're like yet, and it's very exciting, and so exciting that like all the national media I think is higher on the Thunder than any of us are at this point.
Well, what you just mentioned about Chet at the 5, like that's one reason why if Poku really did come back and
Yeah.
was good and be a little more beefy, if he can play a little more beefy, he is kind of like a perfect big pairing with Chet theoretically,
This is
because
music to my ears.
Poku would allow you, because Poku has played a lot of center. The
Yeah.
problem is that Poku played a lot of center with small guys next to him,
Yep.
where he's kind of being asked to be the main rim protector, which is not like really what he's good at. I mean, he's better than some of the other guys on the team. But if you have Chet now as a weak side blocker, like it could potentially work with those two. And then on offense, you don't have that issue that you just talked about, because our guy Poku shot like whatever he shot from 3 last year. 37, 38%.
36 and a half
36. Okay.
for the
Well,
season.
we're rounding up today.
Yeah.
First
We'll
day of
round
the
up.
season, rounding
We'll
up
round up for
37.
Poku. Are you saying sit Dort, start Poku?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when it comes to the idea of a big pairing, it's one of
Yeah.
the reasons why I was getting like mildly excited about the Sar Chet pairing. Not
Yeah.
necessarily because of Sar himself, but just because there is a mold of a guy who is 7 foot tall, that does work with Chet, and you don't have to give up any of those things.
Yeah.
And Sar kind of theoretically works, and Poku theoretically works. Now it was a big jump from them theoretically working to it actually working. Like they have to do a lot to make that work, but it is definitely the reason why I want to see it.
Yeah.
It's why I am excited that he is not on the injury report, and maybe we do get some of those big lineups, even if it just starts off in some of these Micic, bench units.
Yeah. Got the Serbian
Great.
connection out there. Be great.
Let's just see.
Be great. That'd be great. Let's take a quick break. We come back. We will continue to just overhype the Chet Poku lineup. We'll be right back. And we're back after that quick break. Al, you've listened to the podcast, you've read the articles, you've seen the tweets. How are you feeling about the way that people outside of the Thunder community are like talking about this team?
I have found more haters over the last week, so that has made me feel better.
Okay.
It's kind of balanced things out a
Anybody
little bit.
specifically?
I mean, Hollinger was the first one, when we appreciate what he did.
Yeah. Thank you,
Because
John Hollinger, for your
we need more
sacrifice.
people to balance this out.
Yes.
A lot of the predictive models are not high on the Thunder at all.
Yeah.
The one for like Basketball Index had them winning 33.5 games or something, like had them way down.
Yeah, these predictive models, what they do is they take into account like past seasons. Is why.
Yeah, not just past season, but like they weight like age
Yeah.
really heavily. And even though the Thunder were good last year as a young team, that was an anomaly compared to most young teams.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the youngest team in the league.
So I understand why a predictive model like that wouldn't rank the Thunder highly. But I appreciate them. I appreciate them a lot.
It's nice. Yeah, it is probably the nerd community for the most part.
It is. Yeah. People who rely heavily on stats have been lower on the Thunder overall. And people who are into vibes, people who believe their eyes, trust their eyes.
Yep.
They've been higher. I saw Mike Prada. He did his guesses.
Yep.
And I think they had the Thunder like third or something.
Third in the West, 50 wins. Yeah, that was a bit much from Mike.
And I like Mike. I really trust Mike. I think he's like really smart.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like.
Yeah.
I think it all makes sense. I think saying like 50 wins, or even saying home court advantage, like I understand why people are saying it. If it all comes together, it absolutely could be that. It's just so hard to make that jump. Like for me, a successful season, I heard you talking about this with Michele, like what is a successful season? For me, it's making the playoffs, and I don't care how they do it. If it's through the
Yeah.
play-in, that's great. The
Hmm.
playoffs, getting a 7-round series, 7 games, 7 rounds, 49 games total. If they just got a 7-game series against anyone, I think for where this team is, that is like a huge success.
Yeah.
And anything less than that, I will be disappointed. Now, if they got
Yeah.
the 7th seed and they lost 2 consecutive home play-in games, like, yes, that would be very disappointing. Still probably should be seen as a good season, depending on who they lost to.
Sure.
But in terms of success, like the bar for me is playoffs. And this comes back to the Shea conversation as well, because a lot of people are ranking Shea really high
Really
and
high.
totally get it. At the same time, like, he has to make the playoffs. Like, you can't be a top 8 player in the NBA and your team's in the lottery
Yeah.
when you're getting this level of hype behind you going
It's
into
true.
the season. Like
It's
for
true.
Shea's status in the league, he needs to make the playoffs. I know some Thunder fans like want to rank him ahead of Booker. Like, Booker has accomplished so much more in the league thus far, and he's obviously an older player. But like, Shea has to make that first step where he is making the playoffs as the undisputed best player on the team. I know he made the playoffs in the CP3 year, but like, this is Shea's team now. He is the star. He is the ambassador for this team, and he has to make the playoffs to live up to some of these preseason rankings.
Make the playoffs and play well in the playoffs.
Yeah,
He's
true. Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you're a top 8 player in the league, top 8,
yeah,
yeah,
you've got
those
to arrive in the playoffs and then score 30 a game.
and those expectations should be there. Like
Yeah.
that is what you should need to do.
Yeah. That's how I mean, you can only hang on to a top 10 spot for so long without making appearances in the playoffs and making significant appearances in the playoffs before people just start to sour on
Yeah, in
like
a league where more than half the teams make the playoffs,
yeah.
like, you have to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, look at Dallas and look at Luca. I mean, 2 years ago, it's like, oh my gosh, Luca. He's like the number. Is he the number? Is he the best player in the league? Is he going to be the best player in the league forever? He's so young. He's this. He's that. It's so great. He has some postseason success. They made the Western Conference Finals. Was it 2 years ago? And then now because they've fallen off for the past two, it's like, oh, well, is Luca even that good? Do you even want him? Is he the kind of player that you want? Does he move off ball enough? It's funny, like that quote from Shea from Sunday. We're getting like a lot of Luca and like Trae Young comments from people. Like, oh, like Luca and Trae Young need to watch this. Luca and Trae Young need to be like this, you know.
Yeah.
And the way that Shea's talking, if it all pans out, will lead to more winning. It's just you can talk all you want. We just need to see what it looks like. And not that Shea hasn't done that. He has done that throughout his career, has been willing to move off ball. It's why he and Giddey actually worked really well last year together. Now you're adding somebody else in the mix in Chet Holmgren who needs a lot of possessions. It's an interesting dilemma that the Thunder have with regards to sharing the basketball when you have I mean no one doesn't want to have the core four that we have. But the truth is it will take sacrifice from them to reach their ceiling. Like from all four of them in order for them to reach their ceiling. And I'm just really curious what that looks like, how it works offensively, how it works defensively. Like all of them have to work really hard defensively. And I am just so excited to watch how it unfolds.
Well, it's really interesting that Shea Luca comparison, because the talk for nationally for the last couple of years is like they got to get people around Shea, like you're wasting his prime or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, now like Shea's supporting cast nationally is seen so much better than Dallas's supporting cast. So
Oh,
it's almost like if Luca fails again, once again, he won't necessarily. I mean, he'll get a little flack, but it'll be broadly seen as like this is a failure of Dallas. Luca's going to ask out. Like that's where the conversation will go.
it's true.
Whereas with Shea, like at this point, it feels like most people nationally feels like he does have the supporting cast that he would need to be successful in this league. So
Mm-hmm.
that excuse has kind of dried up. And furthermore, like people see the Thunder organization now as like one of the best organizations in the league. I mean, ESPN did their future rankings and had them as like the first or second best like GM front office.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and compare that to Dallas, where everyone's just kind of been down on them for a while, whether it's Mark Cuban or Nico Harrison, like whoever it is, just like that whole Dallas environment,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's pretty down on it right now. So it is a really interesting comparison because I do think some of the shine has fallen off Luka a little bit, but I think people are more willing to forgive him just because of the Dallas situation. Whereas if the Thunder don't make the playoffs this year, I don't think people are going to be as willing to forgive Shea because now it's looking like, oh, he's in this perfect situation. Like,
Yeah.
what more could you ask for if you were
Yeah.
Shea?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like you look at Dallas, like where is their ceiling? Like where does their ceiling lie? It's obviously within Luca, but then like they need Jaden Hardy to be good. They need like Omax Prosper to be good, but he just kind of profiles as a Dorian Finney-Smith kind of player if everything works out really well. Derek Lively, who is a traditional type big, who's not doesn't seem. I mean, if everything is awesome, he's like Time Lord or something. Who's a really good player, but is like those. It's just interesting. They just don't have anybody that is like this like really high upside can really take the reins. I just don't trust Kyrie Irving as an NBA player. I mean, he's in year 12.
Yeah,
I
and
just
like
don't
Josh
trust him.
Green is the guy that people are excited about, and apparently he's not even going to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah, it's bizarre. That's bizarre. And then you just have like this, like Grant Williams is good, but role player. They brought Dante Exum back over. I hope that works out. Like Markieff Morris is on this team.
Oh, is he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Man, there were a couple guys last night watching those games where I knew they were on the team, but like watching that Suns game, they kept cutting to Frank Vogel,
Yeah.
and my first thought every time was, what's Frank Vogel doing there?
Wait, how did he
What
get here?
why is he watching this game? But
Okay.
and then in the first game, I forget who it was, seeing them and just kind of forgetting, and then realizing that they were on the team.
There's a lot of those guys. Even like we know that KCP is on the Nuggets, but he's somebody that just wasn't talked about all summer. It's like, oh, Bruce Brown's gone. Bruce Brown, what are we gonna do? Bruce Brown. Like, they still
Oh,
have Caldwell Pope.
it was Cam Reddish. I
Yeah,
just completely forgotten that Cam Reddish was on the Lakers, and the fact that I forgot about it, and that he also was playing in Game
played.
1. I was like, "Whoa, this is shocking."
Yeah, he actually played. Yeah, that was bizarre. That was bizarre. Their bench is quite interesting, with like littered with like former lottery guys with Rui and Reddish and Jackson Hayes and those guys. Where it's just like, oh yeah, hey, I don't know why you're doing this. I like Rui. I think Rui's a good player, but the other guys, it's like, what's going on here? With Jackson Hayes and Reddish and Christian Wood and those guys, I'm just like, what are we really doing here? Like I don't know. Also, an awful lot of Reggie Jackson last night, which didn't hurt the Nuggets, but still, that's something that's happening big time.
Yeah, I mean, when he plays well, which he did last night,
Yeah, he was good.
their bench makes sense.
Yeah,
If he reverts to old Reggie, then it
yeah.
starts looking a little thinner because you are asking a lot of guys like Zeke Naji and Peyton Watson, even though they're only playing like 10, 11 minutes per night. I mean, they're playing in game 1. Jokic is playing 36 minutes, KCP 36 minutes, Aaron Gordon 35, Jamal Murray 35.
Mm-hmm.
Like over the course of an 82 game season, you hope to get those guys down a little bit. And maybe Julian Strother will be that guy because he looks so good in preseason, even though he didn't play last night.
I didn't play it all last night. Yeah,
But yeah, for one night, like they're new guys playing roles on the bench. It was fine. It worked out. But I don't know that that's a guarantee that it's going to be that way the entire season.
yeah. I'm with you on that one. Any matchups tonight? Obviously, we have the Wemby versus the Mavs.
Yeah, that's
Very
juicy.
exciting. That's a juicy one.
I will be going to my friend's house at 7:30 to
Nice.
watch the Portland Clippers game.
Okay. That's
Uh,
something that's happening too.
slam and jam. We got Scoot versus Russ. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
something.
All right.
I mean,
Pelicans
honestly,
Grizzlies is a little interesting,
I could
but
talk myself into any of these games. I mean, Kings, Utah, Pelicans,
Kings Utah is
Memphis.
interesting. Yeah.
Man, Memphis. They've.
Boy, what are they gonna do?
I don't know. I I
You know,
I
are they
feel
gonna
I feel
force a deal
genuinely
for a big?
bad
Yeah.
because last year it felt like, okay, all this bad stuff happened, but we're going to get through it. We're going to come back healthy next year. Then you get the 25 game suspension. Brandon Clark's obviously still out. And now you lose Steve-O again for the full season. And now Santi Aldama is out with an ankle injury. So you're asking a lot of Xavier Tillman, who was like solid in his minutes, but you weren't expecting to have to do an entire season again where you're
Yeah.
asking that much of
Not
Xavier
a
Tillman.
night in, night out thing with Tillman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. I mean, that it feels like they're gonna be forced if they are gonna feel like they need to go all in for the season. They're gonna be forced to deal for somebody. Like they're gonna have to get Capella or
Rob
somebody.
Williams.
Is Rob Williams gettable? Is like that? Is that a real thing? Because like you hear different things. Like coming out of Portland, it's like no, we want to keep him.
I don't know. He is on a reasonable deal, and he is used to coming off the bench, which he did in Boston.
Yeah,
But you do just wonder long term. I mean, that's a pretty good center rotation with Ayton and Rob Williams compared to a lot of the other
yeah,
teams in the league. But at the same time, like if they could get some nice picks back for him, I just find it hard to believe they wouldn't be willing to do that. And a team like
mm-hmm.
the Grizzlies might be desperate enough to give them 2 firsts for Rob Williams. Wob Williams.
Wob.
Williams. We got Houston, Orlando tonight.
Yeah, Houston, Orlando is one that I kind of have circled as a
2 of our
sicko.
tank brothers.
Yep.
Battling it out. I also am very interested to see. I was texting with you. Everything that's coming out of Detroit seems awful.
Yeah.
Like Bogdanovich, who I almost took in our fantasy league because I was like, well, he hasn't played in preseason. They're just getting him ready for the season. This team desperately needs a 3-point shooter. He's that. Now he's not even getting evaluated for another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Monty Morris is out. I think this could get ugly early. I mean, Cade needs to take the jump immediately, which he was not doing in preseason.
No, he did not look awesome. I mean, just by how they looked in preseason, like J-Dub looked so much better than Cade.
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
It's hard finding like the game I'm least interested in would probably be like Cleveland, Brooklyn, maybe.
I'm kind of intrigued by that. I mean, Hawks Hornets is definitely like
Hawks Hornets, yeah. Return of LaMelo.
I mean, LaMelo versus Trey is actually kind of interesting. So,
Minnesota,
Pacers.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Wiz Pacers.
I mean, I want to see it all. You can't watch it all, but I want to see it all.
There will eventually be bad games.
It will happen. The good thing about the start of the season is that every fan base has convinced themselves that they're good. Like every single fan base. I think this year, I think you can say with some certainty that every single fan base thinks that they're improved and are going to be better.
Well, now that you pick the Wizards as the surprise team with the lowest over-under, I mean, that would be the only team I would think that would have a fan base that's ready to lose. And you were like, no, you're going to win 35 games again.
All right, guys, you're going to win 35 games. I feel really bad about that after doing it. I'm going to blame the Z-Pack on that one.
Do you wish you had gone back to Portland because I know they were your other main team, or would you have gone somewhere else?
I feel less good about that one. The Chauncey thing is the reason why, because I do think that in order to be a surprise team, you need to have a good coach, and I just like the Chauncey thing scares me too much. I don't know, and then the guys that are their vets, just a lot of them get hurt. Like I would not like. Would you be surprised if Brogdon played 20 games for them?
Do you wish you had jumped on the Spurs bandwagon with me?
A little bit. They're getting some hype. They've looked pretty good. They just have to win so many games. That was the other thing with all the other teams. They have to win so many games. And that's why I felt comfortable with the Wizards, because you just don't have to win that many games. I mean, it's a lot. 35 is a lot for a team like that. But you're still saying like a lottery team, where the others it's almost certainly that they're competing for the play-in.
I liked the quote from Steve Kerr though about Pop saying he's bouncing off the walls. He's so happy. He's ready to win. That's what I want to see from my surprise team. I want a 70-year-old man bouncing off the walls.
Bouncing off the walls. Yeah. We've got James Harden back at practice, ready for the season opener now.
Yeah, we'll see. That makes that first game really interesting. If he did play against the Bucks on Thursday, I mean that is pretty interesting. That's pretty juicy.
Suns Lakers will be interesting too. LeBron versus KD. KD looked not awesome last night.
I thought he looked good. What didn't you like about KD?
He didn't shoot the ball very well.
Yeah, but whatever.
I thought he looked all right.
If I were them, I was more worried, even though he did have the 2 threes late. But Eric Gordon looked as old as I've ever seen him, which he was as old as I've ever seen him last night.
He older than we've ever watched.
Than we've ever watched him before. Yeah, he was a little concerning to me.
Yeah, he looked lost.
Grayson Allen, who I've just never. I mean, who's a Grayson Allen fan?
Nobody. He was so bad. He was so bad.
Yeah. So even though there were highlights off their bench, I mean, Watanabe had a nice game.
Yeah.
Jordan Goodwin was solid.
And we didn't even get to see Chimezie Metu or Keita Bates-Diop. I was promised that these guys were just steals.
That is true, especially Keita Bates-Diop. People were saying some things.
Oh, I think I read 2,000 words from John Hollinger on Keita Bates-Diop.
I do think though, like if Beal's healthy, I think there's enough there night to night for them to find the pieces to make their bench work. It's not locked in. I don't think they have a locked in 8-man rotation, but I think there's enough there if Beal's healthy.
I just think they really lack somebody that gets downhill. That's the thing, because Beal's not that either. They just have a lot of guys that do the kind of the same thing. Where I mean, who is the player that gets downhill to the hoop?
Josh Okogie.
Yeah, no, not him either. They don't have.
Yeah, no.
They don't have anybody. And now
are you saying they need
they're being investigated for Drew Eubanks?
I know that's pretty funny because do they have seconds to lose?
I don't know. That's a good question. Would they just be like, you know what, we'll just cut Drew Eubanks. It's okay.
He's the Shaq of Troutdale.
I kind of like Eubanks. I think he's a good player. But the fact that they're being investigated for that, it's like go back and just look at all the scheduled Shams and Woj tweets and like pick somebody else. Pick somebody that has more impact on the league than Drew Eubanks. I mean, come on. I mean, that's absurd. That's just insane to me.
Yeah, the Suns kind of need Okogie to be like a Lou Dort, and not just defensively, which he's a really good defensive player, but like they kind of need him to. I mean, he took 9 shots last night. They kind of need that from Josh Okogie. Like if you had a player like Lou Dort who you could count on to be offensively involved every night, like that is kind of what they need.
Yeah.
And maybe Okogie can be that, but I also don't think he's going to be averaging 17 points a night.
No, I mean, definitely not. Yeah, and Durant will be better. Durant was 7 of 22, 18 points on 22 shots. I mean, that's not Durant.
Hey, are you embarrassed at all for giving up on my guy Moses Moody? It's Moody season.
I mean, he looked good.
You were doubting him. You were doubting him. Now you also were doubting James Wiseman. Probably correct on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they look fine. Like they don't look like he and Kuminga don't look like they're ready to like take over or anything, but they look fine for their first regular season game. They're also like playing against Yuta Watanabe and old Eric Gordon and guys like that. Like let's see them play. Let's see them play somebody real. Let's see them play
the Thunder's bench.
People are saying that, like, I get this question a lot: are the Thunder the deepest team in the league? I think they are theoretically the deepest team in the league, but the problem is that there's so many unanswered questions with the bench. Like, we all love Oos. Like, we like him. We think he's going to be good. Is Ousmane Dieng actually going to be good this year? Like, is he actually going to be a good NBA player this year? I just don't think we know that yet. I don't think that we have like solidified that yes, he's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think most likely he won't be. I mean, I think it would be pretty incredible if Oos, after that rookie season, comes into his second year as a positive NBA player. I mean, I think that's a huge jump to make.
Yeah, I mean, off
for
the
me,
bench,
it's
the
just
guys that I. Well, I was just going to say the guys off the bench that I feel like I know, like without a doubt, I know are going to be good. K. Rich, Isaiah Joe, Jay Will, and then maybe Wiggs. That I like know for sure that I think you can put in the game and that are going to be good.
yeah.
Like I think Jason Wallace and Vava are going to be good, but we don't know. Like we don't know for sure that they're going to be good yet. We don't know it yet, and we don't know that like Bertans is like playable, you know, for 60 games this year. We don't know he wasn't for Dallas last year. We don't know that Oos is that. That's my thing. Is like I get where everybody's coming from on that question. And I don't think it's invalid, but it's taking a jump where to a place where we haven't been yet to be able
But
to say.
even someone like Jay Will, like I buy him in specific contexts, but like if he's not shooting the three ball like he was last year, if that dips, I think
Yeah,
that becomes a lot bigger of a question.
It does. I just think he provides a lot of other stuff. Like I think he knows how to defend. He can be like a little mini hub with like the DHO stuff and like the passing that he provides. I think he's a good defender. Like I think he provides more stuff than just the shooting. But if he did shoot it well, it would make me feel a lot better about like the bench overall. If he could come off the bench and shoot like even like 35% from three on like a decent enough volume, like you would feel good about that with him. And the shot did look good in the preseason. So you just hope that he can come back soon and play, because I do think he's kind of a big guy in the rotation for them.
Literally
one of the only big guys in the rotation. According to Basketball Reference, who is the heaviest player on the team?
Well, I'm guessing it's not Jay Will because that would seem too obvious. Heaviest player. Is it Kenrich?
No. Kenrich is 210. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players. Or 7 players are heavier than he is, according to Basketball Reference.
He's huge in my mind, apparently. He is 300 pounds in my mind. Is it Sar?
Sar is number 2 at 237. He is he and Poku and Chet are all listed at 7 feet.
So is it Jay Will?
It is Jay Will, 240.
Okay.
Yeah, 240.
Okay. So he is the
number
biggest.
3, a surprise, Keontae Johnson at 230.
Wow, at 6'5".
Yeah.
That is
thick.
He might
have thick daddy status, honestly. Like he's pretty big.
Yeah, although he's more like ripped than when I think of thick daddies, I think of like a Ray Felton, where you're a little more plushy.
But Deontay Burton was more ripped, and he was a thick daddy. But he also just had.
You say that like like it was definitely decided. You know, like Deontay Burton. I mean, he was thick, but he was a thick daddy.
He was. Bertans 225.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big dude.
Dieng 216, Dort 215, Lindy 215.
Ooh, so that's a surprising.
Yeah, all heavier than Kenrich, all heavier than Giddey. That's interesting. Chet coming in at 195, Poku coming in at 190.
Okay, didn't Poku gain some weight? Are these up to date?
I don't know. This is all basketball. This is Basketball Reference.
Somebody in the comments, tell us how much Poku weighs.
190 seems light.
That does seem light,
Or
especially for a guy so sturdy.
he is sturdy. All right.
You know, with
He's
those legs, he's got to weigh more than 190 now.
You would think so. I think he weighs 190 just in his trunk.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my thought. I need to find the what they gave us on media day. Where
hey, before we go, new eateries at the arena.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to that event. I was a little disappointed I didn't get to make it. But yeah, they hosted an event last night for media and partners or something. I don't know, where you get to try all the arena food, and we've got like actual local businesses now occupying spaces there, which is great. It's great.
Yeah, we got Empire,
okay, I found the
which
training
is like
camp.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, let's go through these. Let's go through all these
awesome.
weights again.
You want to talk about weight? This is the season preview podcast.
How you weigh?
Jay Will 250.
Woo!
Jay Will
let's go.
SAR 240.
All right.
This is way. Reference is way off. Way off.
You guys getting yoked.
Poku 220.
That can't. Okay, well that seems too much in the other direction. That's a 30-pound. Maybe Basketball Reference is just from his rookie season or something.
Yeah, maybe so.
Because 30 pounds
is insane. Lindy's down to 198.
Oh wow! I hope he's okay. That's a big weight loss.
Everything okay? Yeah. Poku 220 is pretty wild to me.
That gets me hyped about the Chet Poku pairing.
Yeah.
If Poku genuinely can just be sturdy, under the rim, and I'm serious. I'm not making fun of you. I'm serious. If he can just be sturdy under the rim, and then you have Chet.
So, but
nope. Chet coming in for those weak side blocks, it could work. It could work.
He and Dort are now listed at the same weight. Dort and Poku.
Dort and Poku?
Yeah.
That'd be a fun tug of war.
I think Dort would win so
Dort would
fast.
Definitely win. I think being lower to the ground is helpful in tug of war.
I think so too. Also, just being only made of muscle helps in tug of war as well. Dort is so strong. He's absurdly strong. Okay, I'm very excited for tonight. It's going to be a great night of basketball. We have Thunder basketball. Somebody asked in the chat, what would it take for us to have an emergency pod after?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I won't say the bad outcomes, but there probably are bad outcomes.
Don't even. I would not. We would not. We would not do it.
We would have a literal emergency pod.
Yeah.
Okay, good things. I mean, if someone on this team scored 50,
if somebody gave us a 50 ball, we would definitely do an emergency pod.
I feel like that would be worthy.
BJ's first, right?
Yeah. If they set the record, the reverse record that they set by losing to the Grizzlies a few years ago, emergency pod.
Yeah. Okay.
They like absolutely destroyed the Bulls.
What if Chet scores 30 or more and he just looks like he's ready to just kill?
I don't know if that's emergency pod.
Seriously?
I mean, I'd be willing to do it, but it's not. I don't think it's automatic.
I think you would be pumped and jacked. Like if the Thunder won by 15 and Chet scores 30.
Yeah, I do it. I said I'd do it.
You don't seem excited to do it.
I wouldn't be the one initiating. I wouldn't say, "Oh, we have to."
I would initiate emergency pod mode.
If there was a fight,
there's a fight.
Yeah, if there's a fight and Chet's involved, and Poku's involved.
Poku, Vooch, and Chet just rumble.
We'd go live during the game.
Okay, yeah, that's
to break down the fight.
That's fair.
What else? I mean,
what about
2020?
What about a Poku lob to Chet alley-oop? Poku to Chet alley-oop? Would we emergency pod for that?
If you want to do like a 2-minute pod.
Okay, we'll do a 2-minute pod, guaranteed. If there's a Poku Chet alley-oop, either way.
Wow. Okay.
What else would cause us to press the emergency pod button?
I mean, you mentioned Chet having 30, and I guess I wouldn't say emergency pod just because that actually doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility. Like it would be amazing, but it wouldn't blow me away if you had that type of game from like a Oos, or if like Cason Wallace had like he had in his first preseason
Yeah.
game where he hit like 6 threes.
Yeah.
That might get me excited enough, just because that would feel like out of nowhere a little bit for
Yeah.
the first
I mean,
game.
if Usman Jang scores 30 in any game this season, it's emergency
We'll have
pod
an
time.
emergency pod. Okay,
Definitely.
that's
Definitely
great.
so. Yeah. Yeah, it would have to be like for Shea, the threshold is a 50 piece. What about for Dub? Like, would he have to score 40 for us to do it? Is his threshold 40 and not 30?
Yeah, it's at least 40.
Okay, so
I don't even know if
Dub
he has he scored 30 before.
that's a good
I don't
question.
know off the top of my head.
Look it up.
I'll look it up.
Picklefish123 says a Chet triple double with blocks.
Chet triple double with blocks. Okay, yeah. J-Dub has scored 30 twice.
Okay, yeah, that seems right. Yeah, that wouldn't get me there. I'd be very excited though. Be very excited to do the Friday podcast if he did that. But if he scored 40, like emergency pod.
Game winner from anyone.
Game winner, emergency pod, definitely.
Although we say that, and I'm pretty sure Shea had a game winner against the Hornets a few years ago.
He did.
Wasn't that game one?
He did, but we didn't want them to win.
Oh, and that's why we didn't have
No. It would have
those are
been
dark
like,
times.
yeah,
Dark times.
yeah. We were just like, wait, what? No, like that's cool, but no.
Couldn't even celebrate
It's
our
kind
own
of how
team
we
winning.
felt. Like, good job, but stop doing that. Like, that's not what we want for this team this year, Shea. Yeah. Okay. I think that's good. Giddy's only scored 30 once, and he did it in the play-in game. So
I said 2020.
2020.
Yeah,
For Giddy.
he matched Russ.
Okay. Fair. That's fair for Giddy.
Honestly, not. I mean, it is crazy, but with the lack of big men, Giddy is like one of the most important rebounders, arguably, if not the most. I mean, Chet's a really good rebounder, but like Giddy is such an important rebounder for this team.
Well, he led the team in bounds last year. So, I mean,
Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, it's extremely important for him to.
There's a scenario in his
bounds.
career where he could potentially have a 2020.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not going to happen this season,
I-
but one day it could happen.
Yeah, definitely could happen.
If Ben Simmons scores 50 tonight, we'll have emergency pod.
Who?
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons has. It's like we're doing a marathon emergency pod, and we're gonna podcast for Slam and Jam until Friday. If he does,
and it's gonna be all fake Ben Simmons trades, trying to get him to OKC. We have to have the Benizons in OKC. We got to trade for this guy.
How many picks will it take for Presti to bite on Ben Simmons? Do we have to give up both J-Dub and Giddy to get him here?
I think you got to do it. You got to do it.
Yes. You got to do what you got to do to get Ben Simmons on your roster. Okay. Hopefully we'll talk to you guys tonight after one or multiple of these things happen. But if not, we will talk to you guys again on Friday.